Greetings, and welcome back to JT on the Go. Today we are going to explore some of the hill towns in central Italy using my drone. Specifically in the regions of Tuscany and Umbria. Driving between Rome and Florence and making stops in each of these towns to check them out is well worth it. These regions are also great for drone flying. That small building over there was a hotel that we stayed in after visiting Civita on this tour. Without further ado, let's get started. That town up ahead will be our first stop, Civita di Bagnoregio. This town is on the top of a hill. Keep in mind, each town we fly to has its own Italian charm. The town is car-free. You would have to park outside the town and walk to that 300-meter bridge down there and it will take you straight into the town. The original bridge was destroyed during World War II and was replaced with the current one in 1966. Civita di Bagnoregio was built in the 5th century BC. Most of the buildings in the town were built during the Middle Ages. Civita's church and main square marks the center of this town. Erosion in the Badlands area continues to threaten the existing town. Civita means city. Add di Bagnoregio to that and that means the city that dies. Civita is pretty much dead when there are no tourists. Civita is off Italy's tourist beaten path. Tourism is really the only draw to Civita. The town only has 16 inhabitants. There are people that need to operate the hotels, shops, and restaurants. I still recommend visiting this town before it succumbs to erosion. I'm glad I came. It's time for the long flight over to our next town. If you drive in these areas, I recommend using the hotels as checkpoints of rest when traveling between Rome and Florence. The hotels in these towns we cross over are perfect to call it a day, get some sleep, and the next morning have breakfast and continue to the next town. Travel by car between Rome and Florence provides a unique experience that you can never experience by train or plane. Here is our next town, Assisi, located in the area of Umbria. This town got its fame from St. Francis, who was born here. In fact, he's buried in the town's cathedral. Today, it is a top place for tourism and many Catholics to visit the Basilica of St. Francis. Unlike Civita, Assisi has some areas that allow road vehicles, but many parts of the town are car-free. St. Francis was a man that cared for the poor and the unprivileged, had a loving care for nature and animals, and founded the Franciscan order. When you walk through this town, St. Francis is always remembered. The arches that you would see around the Basilica of St. Francis are where hundreds of friars lived. Besides the Basilica of St. Francis, Assisi has some Roman remains within its walls. The amphitheater in the middle of the city is a well-preserved temple. Tourism is bigger here than it is in Civita. On to our third hill town. Before we leave, the place St. Francis found the Franciscan order is in the lower valley in the Church of St. Mary of the Angels. Tuscany is known for being the wine country of Italy. Many wines come from this region. A lot of the world's best wines are produced out here. You can schedule tours of wineries in advance and many of them offer tasting. The towns of Tuscany were once their own countries or city-states until Italy's reunification. Some were built after the fall of Rome when Europe was in complete chaos. Many of the towns were built on the high ground to drive back barbarians. Montepulciano is our third town that we are going to fly around. This town is well known for red wine and red grapes. In fact, the Derecci wine cellar can be toured. Tourists can learn how wine was made. It is also surrounded by a handful of architectural sites. One of them is Palazzo Vecchio. This town and Florence allied with each other 500 years ago before Italy got reunified. Many regions of Italy became their own countries after the fall of ancient Rome. Now we're heading to our last hill town. Montalcino is 42 kilometers from Siena, 110 kilometers from Florence, and 150 kilometers from Pisa. Like all the towns we flew around, Montalcino has art, culture, medieval history, and is another place for wine production. A lot of the town's art and culture can be found in its churches. Montalcino and the other towns we've seen all have medieval history in them. This would include the steep streets and fortress walls. Brunello di Montalcino is a world-famous red wine produced in the heart of town. In fact, a lot of the medieval streets are very narrow to the point where cars can't fit. Montalcino also sits in the middle of scenic views of the Italian countryside. It's now time to fly back to Civita di Bagnoregio. This means we came full circle, but sadly our journey has come to an end. All 4 towns we've flown to each have unique charms that make them both different and the same. Visiting hill towns of central Italy are part of the experience of visiting Italy, while largely overshadowed by other popular things the country has to offer. I recommend doing this loop if you wish to experience the Tuscan regions and the intimacy it provides. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and follow my Instagram account for more videos right here on JT on the Go. This is JT on the Go signing off. Have a great day.